thing first. So to make sure that we're on track with Selenium, I'm going to try to, for the remainder of our class, I'm going to try to also use this as a map to make sure that we do cover everything that is here. They do have everything, but not detailed, right? Which is good way for me to just kind of say, okay, I'll finish this section and that section. And also it's going to be good for you because you have a single page to look at instead of a huge, 30-page worth of document. We do have a syllabus that you can look at it, but it is pretty much similar. It's just that this has a shorter version of everything. So now today our topic is locator, guys. Locator is very, very important, as I said, because the way that you interact with an element, locator is the one that we use to say, okay, do something to this specific element, right? So let's go into a website first, and then we will talk about locators. So try to be more interactive today. So now, guys, is this an element or no? Right here. Do you think this, okay, first of all, this is a link, right? How do I know this is a link? There's two ways that I can know this is a link, right? Who can answer this question?
I don't see anything. It's just showing me like
You don't see my screen?
I see the screen, but I'm not sure. Okay. Now it wasn't working. Okay.
I'm hovering over something. Do you guys see? Do you guys see the insurance website or no?
No,
No.
What do you guys see?
I see the IntelliJ and
Ooh, okay, hold on. I'm sharing the wrong screen. What about now?
yeah, now it's working. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, so on this page, I'm gonna ask you guys these questions, and this is just to confirm, and this is for your own mindset and sanity to make sure that you get that solidify in your mind what is element and what is not, right? So first of all, this is a link, right? I'm telling you this is a link, but how do I know it's a link without even, what if it doesn't show up like this? How else can I know that this is a link?
When you hover over it, it changes and has the line underneath, and the cursor changes from to a pointer finger.
Okay, so that's one, right? That's two ways. But then if we do inspect, how many people don't know how to use this tool? This is called a developer tool, okay? And every browser has it. So for Chrome, you click on inspect, that's a developer tool again. And if you click on this locator right here, okay, this guy actually helps you select an element on a page. So now I can pinpoint, say, I want this specific element. When I click on it, I see two things, right? I see A, okay? So if this is a tag, these are tags, right? This color right here on the left side is tag. So this is the beginning of the tag, and this is the ending of the tag, okay? That means it says the link starts here, the link finishes here. The name of the link is home, okay? So now the home, if you click on it, it has to go somewhere. Then they put href with an address. So now if you click on this, then it does go to this specific website. Now, the question here is that this A tag right here, it also represents a link. So sometime you're going to see something like this, okay, just a text. But then if you look at underneath, under the hood, and if it says A tag, then it's still a link. It may not look like a link, but it's still a link, okay? So if you hover over it, you see your hands, it becomes a hand, right? If you hover over this text, it becomes like a cursor. But now, if I click on this thing and it says H1, but if this said A and then it finished with A tag, at this point it's a link. As you can see, it's automatically became a link right here, okay? So no matter what they say here, if you're dealing with an element, if the element tag is different here, whatever tags that goes by here is the one that we count on. So the Selenium WebDriver understands more on this side, right? It may look like something other than this. So why do I even say that, okay, if you select a tag here, it might, if you have a tag here and here, it might look different other than link, is because they also have CSS. Sometimes what the developers do is that they need to convert a link into any other shape or any other form of element. So they will do it with CSS, but they will take the link from the HTML. But for us, Selenium understands only what's here under the hood. Okay. This is where we will also talk about how we use CSS as well for our Selenium WebDriver. So now, always, I would say, pay attention to the tag, right? If you ever look for a title, page title, for comparing to make sure you're on the right page, you always have to go inside of the head tag, okay? So, and every website has a head. So if you click on it, then you will see a title tag. Once you open the title tag, this is the text for the title tag, okay? And this is how you're gonna find the page title, okay? Similar to that, any element that you're dealing with, you're gonna be just clicking on this, and then this is a button. It should be a button, but then it looks like a button, but it's not. It's a link right here, okay? So it may look like a button right here, but it's a link. The reason why it looks like a button is because this guy right here, CSS, is changing everything by providing what it needs, right? If you see right here, I can do whatever I want. I can do whatever color I want. So it's two ways. Sometime you're gonna see that HTML is saying it's a link, but then when CSS says, okay, I'm gonna take the link, I'm gonna make it look like something else. The job of a CSS is basically to style things, right? It will make the style look the way that the design wants it. So developer has no choice. If they got a link from the back end, they will make it look like a button if they want to, right? So what I wanted to make sure is that when you're dealing with an element on a page, don't just go by how you see it here. Also look at it and see the tag names also. Okay, so from here on, anytime you see a, that's a link. That's a link, and I'm going to show you guys how to get all the links from the page at once and then verify if those links works. So we'll do that today. But to make sure that at least you guys understand that there are a possibility, right? Everything you take with a grain of salt here, right? Because there is endless possibilities. Again, this is programming. So I cannot tell a developer how they can program. They can do whatever they want. So that's why we have to think about the possibilities that they can do on their side. Okay. All right, so that goes for a tag. So make sure you guys kind of understand how the link works. So now link wise, the locator always, okay. So if you are dealing with a link, guys, if you're dealing with a link, I would say always deal with the text, link text, because there is two things you're doing when you do link text. So this specific link, if you want to interact with it, it has a class name also. But why should I use the text, link text, but not the class name? Is because on a page, a link text is also something that matters a lot. What if the link text changes to something other than, like, let's say auto insurance code, it becomes RV insurance code. So now the customers are going to be redirected to auto thinking they're going into RV. So this link text should not change. So if we use link text to navigate through the application, we're doing two things. One, we're verifying that the link text is still valid, right? We're also clicking on it too, in order to go into the next page. So if somehow link text changes, we can detect that link text should have been auto insurance code request and not RV insurance code request. So we'll be able to catch those issues. The other thing is that in a page, in a web page, developers always tries their best to make sure the link is always unique. The link text should be always unique. So auto insurance code request, this link will not be with the same name, will not be anywhere else. Okay, that's the That's the assumptions. Okay. Now I said assumptions, then developer tries. I didn't say they will, they have to, and there is no way. Okay. Because they write the program, because they write the code, it's really, really up to them as an engineer to how they're going to engineer this application, right? But the best practices is that you don't want to have two links with the same name. It creates problems for testers and it creates problem for users as well, right? And also it creates problem for the developers too. So users will be confused if this link is going to the right place or if the other link is going to go to the right place, which is the same. It just, it's basically just the same name. So that's why the idea is not to have the same link text for the both. So even if it goes to auto and this one also goes to auto, they will not have the same name because there might be a tiny bit of a difference. They will change the link text at least to make it look like it's two different links. Any questions so far, guys? So when it comes about dealing with a tag, anytime you're dealing with a tag, you're going to use the text to locate it. Okay. And that is called link text. Let's see our locator. The first thing we went by is the link text, guys. That's the first one. You can cross it out. This is the way driver.find element by link text. Anytime you're dealing with a tag, you're going to use link text. And again, this is where you're going to put the text and you can do click, you can do whatever you want with it after. Any question? Everybody on clear? Basically, they're all clear on this specific direction. And I'm telling you guys best practices doesn't mean that I am telling you this is exactly how you should be doing it. When you go to work, and if something works other than this, then that's fine. That's totally fine. You have to think about being an engineer. It's not, somebody cannot tell you this is exactly how it should be. Whatever solution you come up with, if it works, it works. That's it. Any questions?
No.
Okay. All right, guys, just confirm that yes, I'm getting it. If I don't get it, like I said, I will ask you guys this question. I will the next class, and I will ask you guys in the advanced classes. So it's very, very important that you understand because this is how you're going to become a good automation engineer. All right. So now let's look at the other locators. So first, let's do a summary of this. First of all, you see the order in which they're listed here. Okay, and I'm going to tell you why that is logical for the person who did this. All right. Locating by ID is one. So you can actually use element ID. Where do you find them? So suppose you want to use locating by ID. Okay. And you go into this website and you want to locate this specific element by ID. So now I'm going to give you how it looks like. Okay. So now can you use ID? Tell me, can you or can you not for locators?
No,
Why not?
because I cannot see anything here.
You don't see an ID, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if you don't see an ID, how will Selenium even find it, right? So that's why you cannot use ID. And that's one of the reasons why you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 type of locators available to you. Now, can you tell me which one can you use? I'll give you 5 seconds to look at this, and then I'm going to bring you here and tell me which one can you use. Okay, so when you're ready, let me know if you want me to go. Okay, you know what? I'm going to just open it up right here, side by side. It's probably better. So tell me which one can you use for this element specifically?
Class.
Class, okay. So you're saying class Y.
It's in the class over here.
You see a class, and okay, I'm going to give you guys a name once again because last class we did talk about it. Whenever you see something like this on a web page, right, and you see this yellow right here, again, this purple one is a tag name. Okay, so Now, the yellow ones are attribute, and this is the value of the attribute. The class is an attribute that Selenium understands because it's listed here, right? Class name. Class name. So that means you use the class name, but then right here, the value within the double quote is going to be coming from here, right? This guy right here is the value.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. Now you have three other choices here, value and type. I don't see anywhere it says type. I don't see anywhere it says value, but can you use them?
I mean,
We
yes.
can.
Yeah.
We can, but I'm going to teach you how to do it. I'm not going to make you guess about it. I'm going to teach you how to even use this. This is going to be custom attributes. This is basically going to be, this rule is going to apply to any attributes the developer creates that Selenium do not understand. So Selenium understands ID, name, XPath. It understands link text. It understands the locator, which is DOM. It understands the CSS. Again, class name, tag name, right there. This is the tag. It understands the link text. It understands partial link text. So you don't even have to provide the entire link text. Okay. But then these guys right here, value, type, and maybe there's something that developers can add themselves. Selenium doesn't understand. And there's a good reason why. One of the good reasons is because if I'm a developer and I decide to have an attribute right here, I'll go ahead and actually edit this HTML. And I will add something like it's called data underscore data ID is equal to, let's say QA, and this is a submit button, all right, for example. So now I added this data ID right here, okay? And this data ID has a value. Selenium cannot predict that there might be a data ID on a web page. What if I decided to change the name of this, not data ID, I can say QA ID, right? How does Selenium knows that there might be a QA ID? So that's why Selenium doesn't want to make assumptions there will be something other than. It will only cover up to so much, right? Like this guys, it will only cover this much, but then there is a solution in order to deal with this custom attribute. This custom attribute is created because the QA, we as the automation guys, we ask developers, hey, can you create me a locator? And they will, but then they cannot just do class name and things like that because class name is primarily created so that way they can use the name in order to style the element. So it is using the class name somewhere here, right there, look, in order to style background and everything else. So this gets confusing. So the developer will say, okay, for you, only you, I'm going to create an ID called QA ID. And then you guys can use that. Now you may say, well, wait a minute, Selenium doesn't understand QA ID. It does understand ID. This is not same as ID, right? So now you will have to use the custom locator. And I'm going to teach you guys today on how to create those custom locators. Before we get to it, again, we don't want to get to that until we finish what we should know about the existing already built-in locators that Selenium has. Okay, so we'll get to that at the end. So far, any questions, guys? Like this, why is it even important, right? This locators. Any questions about why this being so important? Okay.
No.
No, right? Okay, so let's open up our test to see why this is such an important thing. So if I'm opening the test, you'll see that when it comes about automation, majority of our code will say find elements and type this, find elements and click this, right? Majority of our test automation. So isn't it better to be very, very solid about how find element works and how we should be applying this locator? Isn't it better to do that, or we just put you guys on a state of mind where you're totally confused, right? It's probably not a good idea, especially when we dealing with something so much. It's good to remove any misconceptions or any sort of confusion. So feel free to ask questions when you guys have any, but keep in mind today's class is to make sure that you get a solid understanding about the locators. So the next class, when you write automated tests, not only that you can write it yourself, you don't even have to record it anymore, right? You can actually write those tests by yourself. By now, you guys also probably understood how these tags matters. So again, today's class was meant to be learning more about the tagging, but I will see if we have time to cover the tag names by the end of the locators. Now, we learned about the partial link text. Okay, link text. And the partial link text is basically the same, right? You take the same link, and as I said, a link might be sometimes also very long, text. So we don't want to use very long text. We want to use this partial. Then we can just say, okay, anywhere, if a link that matches this much up to this much auto insurance, then we want to use that partial link text locator. Any question between these two before I go into, let's say, ID? Okay, good. So now, whenever you want to get a locator, you have to ask yourself a question: what is available to me? In here, you have nothing but the link text and the class name. So you can actually choose between these two and say, okay, I'm going to use the link text, or I'm going to use the ID itself, sorry, the class name. But here, when we go down to this page right here, and I will click on the first name. When you click on the first name, you realize you have more than one. You realize that you have name and you have ID, both. And Selenium understands name and ID, and they're all the way in the top. Okay, they're all the way in the top because the first priority is ID, second priority is name, third priority is expat, and so and so. Why is that? Why is this case? It's because ID is, again, in the perfect world, ID meant to be unique, meaning this ID should not be assigned to anybody else but this specific element. And that is the best practices that developers should be listening before they write their code. Now, do they do this? And you may ask this question: how come these guys are like, they're like engineers and they follow not best practices and they still don't get penalized, or maybe their upper management doesn't say anything or something? There is a good reason for it too. Developers, trust me, they're incredibly smart. Doesn't mean that there is a reason. There is a better, greater reasons. It's not because they're lazy, and it's not because they don't want to. Because if they did, in theory, guys, if they provide a unique ID to all the elements in this page, then they don't need QA. They would probably not need QA to automate a test, because now AI can do those testing because it can predict what should be the ID, right? It can actually find those IDs and create those tests by itself. But that is not the case. That is not the case. It used to be the case where the engineerings, they had a directive that, okay, hey guys, make sure everything has an ID. There was a time, and I would say the time was basically maybe like 2009 to 2011 or 12, before all this nice looking front end technology came out. Okay. And so as that time, I remember, is that developer did have control over the IDs and elements, and it's because they would create it themselves. And when things advancing toward the most efficiency, it's especially on the engineering side, where developers no longer have control over this element and that element. They can only apply what they want. They can say, I want a text field, and I can change. They only have ability to change that label of the text field, right? For example. And it's because the code is already written, just like Selenium gave us code that we can, so for example, find element, the code is written behind it. I can show you guys what does the code look like. But the only thing we can do with this, we don't go inside of the code. We just say, okay, we just want to use it, and we will provide what they need, and then that should do something for us. For example, click, right? If I go into click, you guys can see what the click functions looks like, right? The clicks functions actually pretty much looks like this, where it does more than just one thing, and somebody had to write those code, right? So what the developers do nowadays is that when they want to create a application, especially on the front end side, they will use frameworks. Frameworks meaning it has its own law, it has its own gravity, it has its own rules of thumbs, and developers are allowed to do certain things and not allowed to do certain other things, right? So now the HTML portion, it's something that developers do not have control over, and for a good reason. Instead of spending so much time designing a specific element that may take so much time, in modern development and engineering on the front end application side, is that they just basically have the front end designers come up with this spec. Okay, so they come up with this spec right here. These are the specs to say, okay, this is how it should be styled as. And now developers say, okay, we're going to use something called React.js, or we're going to use something called AngularJS. These frameworks will say, okay, do you need, the framework will basically give them an option. Do you need a text field, and where you need it? So developers say, okay, I want a text field right here, but I would like to customize that text field. Sure, what are the CSS? So it will accept the style changes, but it will not accept the changes to the structure. Okay, this is the structure basically. Developers will not be able to make any changes to the structure, but they do have the ability to put this structure inside of a container. So now if the developer really want to help you or want to make sure that you get a locator, they can put this inside of another element that they have control over. And now they can put the name onto the other element. Now, we as a tester will have to say parent-child relationship, meaning this guy is inside of this guy. So now this guy can have like an ID, for example. So we'll say this is a parent and this is a child. We're going to find the parent. We're going to say whatever is a child inside of the parent, we will then interact with that element. Now, we don't run nowadays as a QA engineer. We try not to ask developers every day, oh, can I get a locator? Can I get a locator? Can I create a new ID? We don't ask that unless there is a absolutely necessary. And it's because we learn to find ways to work with the locators that we already have. And that's why I'm talking about all 10 of them. So that way you're properly equipped with everything that you need to automate without going and bugging developers every day. Like, oh, you have a class name and it's not unique. It doesn't work. Everything has the same exact class name. Can you change it and give me something unique? It'll be like bugging him every day, and you will go and bug him every day. And we don't want to do that. That's one thing. And the second thing is that we can actually do something better. We can use something that is there already, which is going to be, which is something that we're going to learn. The other thing is that ID itself that we were talking about. The good reason why the ID cannot be changed again, these element, if they use a framework, they might not have access to. So even if you go and back them, like, can you please create an ID? They're going to say, oh, I can't. Because they're using the framework, right? And everything will look uniformed, meaning everything will look as if somebody designed it within the same day, even though they're creating new input boxes everywhere. Each input box will have the same exact look, shape, color, and everything is because they're just grabbing it. It's like you have a bucket and it's like a Lego at this point, right? You have a list of code. So each Lego, think about block of code, right? Developers applying those code based on whatever they need. Yes, they have the ability to customize a little bit more if they want to, and they will be able to do that. Any confusion here, guys? Because sometimes when you guys learn automation, they say, oh no, developers should create those locators and this and that. And you join a company and now you're bugging him, and then you're getting frustrated because they're not helping you to create those locators. You may shoot yourself on the foot by doing that. You want to work with whoever and however and whatever they give you at this point, right? Because you're an engineer, you'll have to find ways. So think about it. Any question about this ID, right? The way that we are gonna apply ID. So Again, the ID is right here. In this case, ID is there. I would choose the ID, but I want to test to make sure the ID is unique. How do I know the ID is unique before I use it? ID is the first priority because ID is meant to be unique. But because the developers do not have access to the ID and this specific, attribute, it might not be unique. So we have to test it. If it's unique, then we'll use. If it's not unique, we will not use. Okay. So how do we test it to make sure it is unique? Do we just run the test using this ID, or do we just do something else? What is the fastest way to test this is unique or not? Okay. So I'm going to teach you guys. All right. Just remember that, because I'm going to ask you guys these questions in the future classes. So right here, if you do Command F for Mac users, if you do Control F, you're going to see there is a small search button right here, came in, and it says find by string, selector, or XPath. So if I take F name, and this is a string by itself, okay, and this is 1 of 1, okay, and 1 of 1. That means is that this element is the only element has this name. What does this say right now? That means is it unique or is it not unique? Saif, what do you think?
I think it'd probably be unique.
If it's 1 of 1, it's a 1 of a kind in the page. That means it's unique, of course, right?
Yeah.
So now we can actually use the F name, and as you guys can see, we already used that in our previous test that we wrote. So it shouldn't be a mystery. Now, if you want to find out about the name itself, is the same thing, because again, we're using the same string. But if you want to do only ID, now this is where you learn something new. If you, for example, let's say this is the attribute and this is the value, right? How do I convert this into a custom locator? I will copy the whole thing, okay? Again, you have to take attribute and value, okay? I'll copy the whole thing and I will put it inside of a square brackets, okay? Now this becomes a unique locator. Now this is what? At this point, this became a CSS locator, guys. We just created ourselves a CSS locator, okay? So we have to use, when we do this, we have to use CSS locator. Whenever we created ourselves. So at this point, I just taught you guys how to create it yourself, a locator. If you put it under the square brackets, any custom attribute becomes a CSS locator, even the type, right? Because remember, type is something that Selenium do not understand. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have to take this and I'm going to make it into a CSS locator by putting it inside, okay? So notice if I use type text, there is more than just one. So all of the elements have this specific type, okay? All of them has it. So that means I cannot even use this because this is not one of a kind in the website. This is not unique. Okay, this is not unique at all. So now if I click on it, you'll see that it goes through each of these input boxes because all of them have the same exact type. So remember that. Now, if I go back, how do I create a CSS selector without having any sort of knowledge? You go into this locator that you're interested in, for example, right here, and you right click and you say copy. When you do copy, you're clicking the locator will give you a CSS locator. Now, I'm going to reveal here is that CSS locator might be very nice looking or very complex looking, right? In this case, because it has an ID, it will give you something like this. That's it. This is your CSS locator. So I'm going to paste it wherever I copy it. It's the exact same thing. So whenever you take an ID and you put a hashtag in front of it, it becomes automatically a CSS locator. Okay. So if you want to create a CSS locator and you have an ID already in the element, but you don't want to use the ID, then you can use a hashtag in front of it and it becomes a CSS locator to begin with. Okay. Now, what if you still take the whole thing and you put it inside of the square bracket? It becomes, again, it becomes a custom locator. It is still a CSS locator. So there's 3 ways to get yourself a CSS locator, guys. Again, you customize it yourself, you create it yourself. The other one is that you right click and you copy and you see copy the locator right here. That's the second way. And the third way is basically you're applying some sort of so for example, ID, you would apply hashtag. Okay. And I'm going to tell you guys for classes, what do we apply? Okay. So far it's clear. Everybody understood correctly? Any questions? Okay. Because
No.
homework is coming, right? All right. So that's good. So now, again, nobody's going to teach you guys these things. Nobody's going to teach, right? They will say, okay, yeah, this is, you go in here, right click, and you find yourself a locator, use it. But that is not the efficient way to go. What if there is no ID? I'm going to remove it. What if there is no name? I'm going to remove it. Now, if I copy a CSS locator, look what you get, okay? Look, what is this? Crazy, right? It's insane. Now, if that is the last resort, you don't have anything other than using this option, then you use this option. Like I said, what is engineering? Again, anything works. We go with it with anything works, but of course, the most efficient way, right? We don't do sloppy job, but again, we have to see what works the most efficient way. So in this case, your last resort is to say, right, click and copy is the last resort because you couldn't do anything yourself. You couldn't find it. You couldn't create it. Unfortunately, now you are able to just go ahead and copy it and you're good to go. There's another thing that we want to talk about is XPath. Okay, XPath, you can also copy the same exact way, guys. Same exact way you can copy the XPath. So what did we cover? We covered ID. We also covered name, right? It's right there. We covered the XPath just now and CSS. So now XPath is, again, more frequently there is an interview questions about XPath. How do you create them yourself? Okay, and that is a bigger topic because XPath is not just XPath, and CSS selector is still not a small topic, and we will probably have to visit again and again to create it. But the way that you create an XPath is basically you got single slash and double slash. With this, with the double slash, you're saying that this is relative. You want to search the entire DOM, right? The entire page for a locator, right? For an element. If you do single slash, you're saying, I know exactly where my locator is. You're being very specific. So with the double slash, if I want to find the title, I'm going to say double slash, and the title has a tag. I'm going to say div. And then what I will do, I'm going to do square bracket. Inside of that, I'm going to say it has, okay, let's see. This guy have, let's say, okay, let's find the main, right? Hold on a second, which one we were supposed to find? Okay, div and then title div, right? So now I'm going to say ID. So you're going to say at ID is equal to, okay, so you got to put that quotation right there, double quote, and you're going to say the exact name, title underscore div. Okay, so now you just created yourself an XPath. You can still make this and use it in your Selenium test. And so when you create it yourself, it becomes smaller, right? You don't have to create a very large, you know, crazy looking CSS locator. When you copy and paste, that's when it becomes crazy. Right? You can right click and copy, and you'll see like it comes in a weird. But because this one only have one attribute, it may not be weird. See, this just gave me, oh, never mind, okay, copy, XPath, and then go ahead and paste it here. You see, it just gave me exactly, notice these hash, this star sign right here instead of the way that I used. I use div because I know this one has div, right? But then when you copy it, it says, okay, give me everything. So double slash already says I want to search the whole page, and star means search all the tags and find me ID that has this. That means this locator is going to take a little bit longer to basically find you that a specific element, because now not only that it will search the entire page, it will also search all of the tags to make sure it has the right div. If you just replace this as a div, now you're saying only divs. So main, your input boxes will not be searched, form will not be searched, only that has a div will be searched, okay, to find this title, and then it will give you the locator. So you can always make your locator more faster and efficient. Again, that's the part that we're talking about. Efficiency comes after you at least learn the basics, after you know how to move around, being able to write some tests and have some confidence. Do you guys know when do I say that we are successful in learning automation? How do I measure your success to say, okay, you guys are good to go and let's start looking for a job? Did I even ever mention that to you guys?
No.
No.
No, okay. So it's good to know right now, so that way you guys can have that kind of mindset. When you guys are able to freestyle, just like a rapper, the way that they measure their success is that they can rap about anything. You give them 3 words and they will come up with a whole song, right? Same thing. When it comes about automation, I give you a website and you are able to automate any test cases that I give you of my choice. You will face issues. It doesn't have to be within an hour. It doesn't have to be within the next day. It doesn't have to be within the next week. Even if you take 2 weeks and you're able to automate with your own struggle, right? Freestyle without you seeing what I'm doing here, I will consider that as a success, because at work, when you are automating something and you're facing difficulty, you are free to tell your team, hey, there is this specific thing that I'm dealing with, and it's very, right now, I don't have a solution. I'm still researching. I'm reading Selenium websites, Selenium HQ documentations, trying to come up with the way to deal with it. I just don't have the solution yet. So it's going to take me some time. In automation or in QA, when you take that extra time, when you take that 2 weeks or 3 weeks to do something that will take somebody like me, for half an hour, you don't get fired for that. Nobody cares. You can take that extra time. Everybody's different. You can take this extra time. You can estimate it that way, the way that you understand, the way that the amount of time that you need. The only thing the team cares about is that you did the right thing, which is you actually wrote it the right way. You're validating the right thing. You didn't cheat on that, meaning your test never fails for some reasons. You just create some code here and there and it never fails. Is because you designed your code in a way that it should never fail, right? That means it's not doing anything. It's just going, not even clicking. It's just like hovering over. Okay, done. It validated this and that. So they don't want bad code. They don't want bad test cases. If you have to take that extra week, it's still going to be fine, as long as you have a proper communication. Again, you're engineering something new. That test case was never written before, so it is okay if you have to take that extra week for automating that test case. Okay, so the time, it's not a problem. Okay, so in our career as a QA, manual or automation, time is not a problem. The only thing is that I will tell you guys about manual testing is that manual testing can be measured, right? Meaning if I have 5 QA and I'm a QA manager and I assigned you guys 20 test cases each, somehow Saif is finished 20 test cases within the next day. And Sonia finished only 2 test cases and it's been, like already like a week. What is that tells me? Either she has a blocker, meaning she can't move forward because of something. So I will reach out and say, hey, do you have a blocker? Do you need any help? And now Sonia's like, oh, I don't need no help, but I will finish it. I just didn't get to the rest of them. It just takes time, things like that. It doesn't really help me to understand what is the problem in this case, because how come Saif was able to do 20 within the next couple of days? So that's when I'm gonna have some concern. That's when I'm gonna like start putting my eyes and say, okay, I'm gonna monitor her work to make sure that things are being done, within the acceptable time. And it's because I can actually measure everybody's work. On the automation, you can't. Everything is different. All test cases will have different challenges, different situations. Every test cases. Manual testing, yes, but then you're just writing it down what you're about to do, nothing else. Nothing else. It's nothing. You're just saying, okay, I'm gonna come in here, I'm gonna enter a specific name, last name, and I'm gonna go in next, and I should not move forward because the 5-digit zip code was not provided, the phone number was not provided, and the email was not provided. It's a negative test case, right? So now these things, again, guys, you go as a tester, your job in the very beginning is going to be manual testing. Ask me why. No matter how much I'm going to train you on automation, the first maybe 6 months or 3 months is going to be manual testing. Before they will say slowly, gradually go into automation. Even if you start as an automation tester, they will say, okay, help manual testers in the beginning. Why is that? Any guess? Nobody wants to guess? Okay. Nobody wants to talk. All right, I get it. So it's probably early for some of you guys. So it's because, again, when you start in a company, right? You start in a company and you want to automate the next day, you can't because you don't know the product. It's not just coming in and click here and there link and be like, oh, I'm confident. I automated these applications. It's not a problem. I can do it. But that's not the way how they want you to do it. That's not how the process is. That's not how they engineer that test case. They want you to learn first. They want you to understand the application. And any good manager will have to have this kind of mentality, because you have to understand the product before you can give us a good contribution. So now in the beginning, I may, as a manager, assign you manual test cases, because then this will help you to understand the product, but also manual testing is something that it already says what you need to do. So you're just gonna have to read and do it as it says, right? This does two things. One, you're helping manual testers and also learning the product yourself. Once you're ready to automate, they're not gonna just go ahead and automate the complex test case that you can ever find. You can say, okay, give me a start with, test cases that is maybe low-hanging fruit, something that is easy to do. You'll probably start like that. Or you may just start fixing the existing automation test. So you're going to run it and see where is exactly failing. The most reasons why a test case fails is because of the locator changed. Developer changed the locators. Now, can you go and yell at them? Well, how come you changed this locator? You should let me know, and you change it. Some developers will be nice enough to and to make an announcement like, hey, I changed this. It may fail some of your tests. But we cannot go and start yelling at them, or we cannot go and talk to them. It's like, no, this has been a bad idea. You guys keep changing this and we don't know. No, our job is to keep maintaining our test automation every sprint. So your job is to run these automated tests daily into that server wherever developer making changes, so you can catch those issues as early as possible and make those changes as you need. Okay, so you might be doing that. Most of our, I would say 80% of our time will be just spent on fixing existing test cases, just maintaining existing test cases, happy and healthy, so that way we can catch future issues. The 20% may be writing some new test cases, guys. So like I said, this is gonna be, you guys are learning the right way when it comes about automation. I've seen many guys out there from other schools, and I've seen people that have zero idea about what automation is. They know how find element is, and that's it, right? But no matter what you do, what I'm teaching you is automation as of right now. So you are able to automate, but you might not be automate efficiently if you don't know programming. Programming comes here. Is there any programming here? I don't think so. It's all Selenium. We're using a method from Selenium to find element. Then we're using another method from Selenium to do an action, which is to type something. Okay, where is the programming in this case? Line number 36. There is no programming, right? We haven't been using a lot of programming. So we're gonna basically learn a bit more on Java, but I need you guys to do some, some of these on your own too. You gotta get really concrete knowledge about Java, right? And if you do learn a lot about Java, it will help you to face a lot of complex issues in the future, right? Just by doing this, it's not going to be enough to have efficient automated tests. So today, we're going to probably do something to show you guys what kind of issues you might face. And we'll go from there. We'll probably create a test case from scratch. And we're going to learn about those JUnit locators. So that way, the next class, we don't have to deal with JUnit and we don't have to deal with this specific framework. We may just upgrade our framework to the next possible thing that we can do with it. And then we're going to continue to upgrade our framework in order to make it look the way it should be for a commercial application. Okay, so any question about locators before I move on, guys? We got these. We talked about the link text, XPath. We talked about CSS. Tag name is basically the same. Tag name, these are the tag names. I would not recommend tag names because this is almost never unique, right? There are situations like, for example, this guy is unique onto this page because this is the only form exist in the page, so you can use it, but anything else you cannot use. Okay, so any question before I move on from locators? Everybody understand what locator is, how to create them?
I have a question.
Sure.
I'm confused, like when or why we need to create our own locator.
Okay, there is many reasons why we need to create our own is because sometime when you go to a page, okay, let's go into, let's say something like this. I'm gonna probably show you guys what's, Facebook team is doing, right? What their QA team is doing right now. So you go in here and you realize that they got so many things going on here. Let's see if they have data ID, class name, blah, blah. And they got a container. Okay, so say, for example, you're in this page and so they actually got everything here. It's because probably login is the highest used feature for automation, meaning every time we write our test, we have to log in first, right? So that's why maybe they have everything like ID. But let's go into another application. Let's say JetBlue.
So in this, I can see the ID, so I can take it as a locator. So here I don't need to create my
You don't
own,
need to
right?
create your own. Exactly. Yes. Yes. So let's see. I'm just trying to find a situation here, right? So that way we can talk about this because this one also have an ID. So let's see, this is a link.
So most
Okay.
of the time, we already have it, right? Isn't it?
Well, not most of the time.
Okay.
Because these are front end, these are basically landing pages, right? Landing pages is different than the actual application that you'll be testing. This landing page is tested by somebody in India, somebody in offshore, somebody in China, somebody in Bangladesh, whatever is the case, right? Mostly Bangladesh people. They create these landing pages like the developers, and then they tested themselves and all of that. So your company, you'll see the landing page almost never get tested, and you're gonna say, oh, how come we never test this? It's because this is a responsibility of another team. And they do it themselves. This is just a single page. So it's really easy for them to do the testing. It's nothing crazy. Now, as soon as, so this is a landing page, but as soon as you log in and you go inside of it and you want to book a flight, now you just going inside of another thing. Right now, you're not only, you pass the landing page at this point, right? You already clicked on to get inside of something more complex, right? So now explore fair. Let's see if I can work to, okay. So let's say right here, let's see if I can, let's say I want to click on this specific guy. Notice he got nothing on it. What do you have here to use? Is there anything that we can use here?
Class.
Class, okay, I'm gonna give you, so I'm gonna copy the class, okay, class name, Control C, F, and then I'm gonna find the class name. I'm gonna put a dot in front of it to make sure it is a locator. Class name, if you put a dot in front of it, it becomes a locator. So look how many class, all of them have the same class. Now tell me, can I use it? All of them has the same class. You see, it's going through each. All of them have the same exact class, but I want to click on number 6, 109. That's the place that I want to click on. You see, situations like that, you will have to come up with your own locator. Okay, you'll have to come up with your own locator. So, and then there are other situations where you'll see that now you can say to your developer, hey, you know what, I would like to interact with this guy, but you know what, I don't like the class because I can't use the class because everybody has the same class name. Can you put like some sort of, you know, like ID or something? So now your developer will say, oh, sure, I'll do it, right? So he agreed and he goes and puts something like this, okay? And I'm going to give you a data ID is equal to, let's say, that's going to be month or day 6 or something like that, day 6. So he gave you this and say, hey, I applied like whatever value is in here to the ID, so that ID, so you guys can use it now. So now you come in here and you have this locator with that ID. This is not same as ID, so you cannot use it. So what, at this point, you can just create your own, and you will have to now copy the whole thing and wrap it under square brackets. Okay. And boom, one of one, right? And you got yourself your unique ID. That's like, again, I made the situation like this, meaning I made the scenario in a way that you had a need for asking developers for this locator, and he did it, and therefore you use it. Now, if he didn't give you this locator, so I'm gonna go ahead and erase it and now see what other choices that I have. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna teach you guys a small trick that I use myself, is that now that I don't have any other way to use this, the class name is also not unique. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the class name from here. Because if the class name is still there, it will still suggest use the class name, use the class name. So now for this 79 value, I'm gonna right click, okay? I'm gonna now click on copy and I'm gonna click selector. Now I got myself the locator. So you see, and now it is 1 of 1 because it is used and now I can use it. The thing is, if I right clicked it and created and copy and pasted, it came in very much a static locator. This locator will not work the very next day. Anybody wants to know why? Or it will not work for other situations?
Sure.
Because it has a date associated with it. If this date changes, then it will not work again, right? So this date element with the date ID on it is coming from somewhere higher up. Like if we go up right there, let's see, somewhere it has a date. Somewhere. It's grabbing the date from somewhere for sure. Okay, so to make my life easy, I'll just go ahead and remove this to find the date, okay? Okay, so it's coming from here. Okay, it grabbed the date from here. I think it is an ID. So let me see, where is it? Right there, you see? Right here. So 11/8/2022. Okay, so for your test, you're not gonna have 11/8/2022 at all times, right? You're not gonna have that. What if your test is running after the next month? Let's say you always deal with the next month and it's running after the next month. It will fail your test because you only counted, you know, that specific scenario where it's gonna say this specific date. Okay, so that's why the locator that I showed you, yes, this is your last resort, but you avoid this locator at all cost until you exhausted all of your options. You can then use this. So just keep that in mind. What you don't want to do is that blocked and don't know what to do anymore. Like this locators doesn't work, so I should just quit my job, right? It's not the way it should be. It should be like, okay, all right, what other options do we have? Now, let's say for all of these, are you alone, guys? For all of this work, all of this thinking that you're going to be doing, are you alone?
No,
Okay, why not?
because we are working as a team, like we have other team member.
Okay, so that's your first line of defense. You go and say, hey, have you ever dealt with this kind of issues? I'm having this issue. Chances are that engineer is going to say, oh, let's look at it and then might help you. But no, before you actually bug somebody and ask, I would say there is another friendly option. It's called Google. And this is where you're going to do your research and say, no ID, right, on element Selenium locator, right? How to find element when ID is not there. So somebody somewhere, somehow in this world face the issue that you're facing as of right now. One thing I fail to see, you guys, like some of you guys, there are very few of you guys here that basically don't even try, right? Meaning simple Google search will probably help you escalate and finish what you need to finish and still come back and say, okay, look, I'm done, right? And some of you guys doing really good job where you almost have no issues because you face those issues yourself, you solve those issues yourself, and there's somebody better than me out there writing the answer. Meaning this guy is probably dealing with this kind of issues so much that he became an expert on that specific issue, right? So everybody out there, when they face issues and stuff, they post a comment. So now I would highly encourage you to create an account with Stake Overflow and always ask your questions. If you have something, ask a question, but they will even fix your questions itself. So they will teach you in the beginning when you sign up, they will teach you how to ask a question. And it's very, very important to ask a question right. And this applies at workplace also in your team. If you come to me and sometimes you'll see I don't even answer because why? You're saying this is not working. This is not working. I would say, okay, fine, I'll deal with this and at the class when the class starts. When I see that you're really on a big mess, I will not answer it because one simple answer is not enough to get you out of the mess. It requires a little bit more, right? So that's when I said, okay, you know what? I'll try to go over this in class. Otherwise, just writing you a small paragraph is not going to help you. So here, it's very, very important that you learn how to ask a question. If you made a mistake on the question, they will fix it because there are contributors out there that will say, okay, you mean this, and they will actually give you a suggestion. Okay, here is your question. And you'll then update your question, and then only then you'll get your answer. Somebody will then type an answer here. I also contribute to this. I have like 3 accounts. And then basically helping somebody out there that is going through some problem. So at work, you're facing an issue, you go into Stack Overflow and you write, this is exactly what I'm facing. This is how do I deal with it? You get suggestion 1 through 3. Top of that, few other people will come and say, okay, use the parent-child relationship here. There's another option. So you have ability to get an answer within 1 hour at all time. This is more than just support. This is more than just me trying to help you, getting on the line, seeing you doing the work. Yeah, so it's there. Now, why would they help you though? Why would these guys help you? These guys have reputation online, and just like, you know, this guy has badges, right? This reputation help him to be a top into a specific technology. Now, these guys might be getting millions of dollars by having this kind of profile, because these profiles attracts companies to come and say, hey, can you do this specific thing for me? And now this guy probably running an IT firm somewhere, right, where he will take the project and he will then have his team do, you know, deal with it. And all you have to do is take the project. So that could be one option. The other thing is that many startup companies, they would hire directly off of Stack Overflow. You got all these badges, you apply, they will not even look at the resume correctly, right? So here is one other option aside from, and this is probably the fastest options that you should have to your disposal when you work, right? It's not all about, oh, I tried this and it doesn't work. No, did you try 100 things? Did you try 200 things? It's about trying everything that you can and spending time. That's it. Like, just have some faith in yourself and say, I will find the fix. I will do the searching. I will do the Googling, and I will actually solve it. And that kind of mentality you need to still grow. On the automation side, I'm going to give you guys some tips to become the best possible engineer that you can be. Is that never ever look at the time, right? When you start a job, don't say, oh, 8 hours is done, I'm not gonna now do anything. No. You go and spend as much time as you need to fix a problem or create a new task, and then take the next 2 days off. Like, don't tell your boss that I'm gonna take the next 2 days off. Just next 2 days, just take it easy. Leave early, whatever is the case. For me, when I face a problem, when I basically feel like I need to spend day and night, and I would do it. I would actually go and spend to make sure I'm done with the work. And then I'm not going to tell them I'm done already. I'm just going to say, okay, I have a good progress. I finished 10%, tomorrow is 20%, third, and it's not because I am just being unfaithful to the company. It's just that it would actually take that much time, but I already spend that time within one day, 24 hours. Now I have to spread my 24 hours within the whole week. So that way, not only that I have some sanity, I don't go crazy. I don't go crazy over work. I don't end up doing so much work where now everybody expected me to expect me to be a Superman, right? To finish everything, but also the other thing is that when you finish it that fast, there is gonna be problem and issues that you will be also causing. One of the problem will be you might not have enough time to review your code and have a lot of mistakes. The other problem is that your rest of the coworkers, they might be following the pace daily 8 hours, and you just kind of, slap them on the face. And you don't want to do that, because now they would expect everybody to do the same work. So yes, if you do spend your 24 hours and you're able to accomplish it, okay, take it easy. Don't go and push your code on the same day. Push a little bit at a time until you're done, right? So just know the pace, the speed the team is moving, and try to have the same speed, because you don't want to go into a team where you want to do a little bit more than everybody else, so you can always stay at the top and kind of get promotions or whatever you need. But don't go too crazy where you become like a superhero in the team and everybody else is like, oh man, this guy is like just, too much. That brings you into few problems. Again, you don't have a personal life anymore. You work almost 24 hours, so you don't want to do that. So just keep that in mind. Always take it easy. In QA, we take it easy, yes, but automation is engineering. So if you facing a problem and you couldn't fix it, it'll bother you at night. It'll basically bother you, and you go out with your friends and hang out. It'll bother you like, oh, maybe I should have tried this specific thing and it would work. Instead of doing that, just spend your time in one day, fix everything, and then just take it easy. Next day, go out, hang out, whatever you should do. Do it like that. So you gotta have that kind of mentality to be an engineer. Okay. All right, so Stack Overflow is going to be great help. Again, moving forward, yes, sign up, ask a question, but don't ask a question that is already there. Okay, so do your search. I am guaranteeing you from today to all the way until you get a job, any questions that you have is already there. It's already there, guys. So don't ask duplicate questions. They will kind of grill you there. But when you go to work and you're facing the actual problem and you feel like there is no help at all in Stack Overflow, then you ask this. But I am guaranteeing you right now, any problem that you'll ever face from today to all the way until you get your job, it's there. It's there. I can assure you. People face those issues already. There are millions of people trying to be a QA engineer as of right now. Okay. Plus millions of people are working, so they do face those problems, and you will find your answers. Any questions? Any questions before we write some exciting script today? Locators, we are out of the, right? Any sort of confusion locators wise? Yes, we just talked about it today. We just went over the book, but now we're going to apply those whenever we get a chance, right? We're going to apply those. So at least you are out of the locator situation. Driver initialization, we talked about it, right? We talked about the Selenium with Chrome driver already. Firefox and other things is the same exact process and procedure. We can go over if you need to. Safari being the only exception. Safari doesn't need a driver because it is quite efficient. It does come with his own driver within the browser. So, but you have to enable that. Okay, so we'll talk about that. But for now, these all three, Internet Explorer, as well as the Firefox and Chrome, have the same exact way to use. Okay, so we already finished this section. We finished the locator section. And then we're gonna go the next thing, probably keyboard and mouse. We learned about the mouse hover and things like that, but we'll basically deal with those. Notice what you have available. You can key up, key down, send keys. You have double click. You have click and hold. So you have a lot of options. These specific, we call them method, because you do action with it. These are action methods. Okay, these are action methods specifically for keyboard and mouse. And these guys behind them, there are code that developers all over the world, they spend time to write it. We have the privilege to use those by calling the name. Okay, we just basically just call it just like this. You see click method right here somewhere. We just called it here and it will work. Where does the click method is? Show context. Let's see. Okay, so if I do command B in here, okay, look where it's coming from. It's coming from, if you even hover over it, let's see. Okay, if you hover over it, it says it belongs to org openqa selenium.web element. This is where that click method is belong to. And if you go in here, we're actually calling it by using Selenium from that specific location web driver, right? Oh, sorry, web element right here. This is where we are calling that specific click, okay, method. So somebody had to write code for this. Everything that we're using, somebody had to write code for this. The good thing is we don't have to write code just yet, right? When we face a special situation, then only then we will write code. So let's create a special situation right now, and then we'll use some Java code today, all right? Aside from just using Selenium. So I'm going to use Selenium and Java at the same time to do something new. So for example, when we go into this, not this, okay. So when we go into our first website, right, this, okay. Why is it going to this thing? Client login, okay, this is, okay, I'm gonna go back to home by doing this. Okay, that's good. So when you go to the home, and it has links everywhere. You can see this is a link, this is a link, this is a link, this is a link. How do I count my links? If I go in here and I put a tag, okay, okay, A became a string, so I gotta see, how do I make that a tag? Okay, so now it's an A tag. As you can see, it has 252 links in this page. Okay, this is the landing page again. So what if I want to copy all the links using my Selenium and Java code, and then verify those links are working? What if I want to do that? Do you think that's a good test? I think that's going to be a great test, because it's going to be an easy way to find issues and problems, right? So okay, so that is our objective, right, guys? This is what we want to do. You guys understood? Even to find like broken links, this is the way we're going to be able to do it using this code. So let's first thing, we're going to create a new class. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to create a new class. Today's class, I'm going to just create the test from scratch. Okay, so just it's not the way that you guys created. And again, I'm going to try to do it in the next 10, 15 minutes at least, so that way you guys have the rest of the time to explain to me your homework. Any questions? Do you guys need a break? Everything is good, or we need a break? 5 minutes to get some coffee or whatever. You know what? Let's take a 5 minutes break, guys. So right now it's 12:22, so let's assume that's 12:20. 12:25, so 12:30. I'll see you guys at 12:30. Okay, so go get yourself some water. Today's class, again, the second portion as of right now, we're gonna do something that I will give you guys as a homework, right? To make sure that we are able to do it. Here's some recording. All right, so this is something that we're gonna be doing today. We're gonna learn something that will probably help you at work, not only work, but also in an interview, maybe coding challenge. So this one, we're gonna say verify all links or something like that. Verify links, right? That's the name of your class. In here, we're gonna follow the JUnit way of writing our test because we already have JUnit in our framework. So look at this test right here. Anytime the testing related code goes inside of a tag called test, and we have before tag and we have after tag. So now we have to basically do the same thing. Notice that it doesn't even have the main method. Okay, do you see any main method here? Remember, we talked about main method, that if we have to have main method, for example, public static void main, in order to make things work, in order to execute our test. But when you use JUnit or TestNG or and we're going to talk about the other frameworks as well, you don't need to provide the main method because this before method already has main method built in. After one has it, test also has it. It's just that it has a specific order. That means this before method will always run before this guy, and this one will always run after this guy. Okay, this is going to always happen. And no matter where you put the code. So normally, if you have a code like this without JUnit, it will run based on the order in which the line of code it is, right? So it will always have the line number, and it will run this line first, and after that this line, and after that this line. Okay. In this case, the line number here matters, right? But it doesn't matter with these guys, right? Because these are the block of code. Block of code can be run based on a specific order, based on the tag that you're applying. So that's what we're going to do. So instead of doing a main method, we're going to go ahead and create add before. Okay, so add before tag. Okay, so notice it came from JUnit, and then it will be upset right after, and we'll see why. So add before, we have to create everything with public void. Void means it has no return. And then we give it a method name. So we're going to say public void, and then the method name should be like setup, right? So driver setup or whatever. You can name it whatever you want. Okay, so this is your block. In this block, you can write whatever code, and this guy is designed, this block of code is designed to run before anything else. So import class, we're going to click on that, and we're going to import it. And as you can see, it came from JUnit. Okay, before came from JUnit, so which is good. So at this point, we want to create our browser. So basically, I'll just take this from here. There is no need for us to rewrite this again and again. So this was going to set up our driver, but then driver needs to be outside of the block of code, so that way other blocks of code can access this guy as a driver. So in this case, I'm going to create a variable outside, not inside of the block of code. I'm going to create it outside, right? So I'm going to say web driver, right? And then driver. That's it. Simply is that now instance variable. This is an instance variable at this point. I'm saying is that line number 8, I have a variable which is a type called web driver, and the driver, but it has no value for now. For now, no value, I don't care, right? That's what I'm saying. The way that we declare instance variable in Java, but then later I was able to assign a value to it, which is the actual browser. So now we go back in here, we see after. So notice like before and after the same thing. Why am I writing after even though I have to write test? So I'm going to write it in the right order, and then we will write the we will disrupt the water to show you that water doesn't matter. Okay. So now we write our test. So the best practices for at least for JUnit test, public void. By the way, developers write their unit tests in JUnit. Okay. So this is gonna probably help you if you ever help your developer how to write basically writing some unit tests and help them as well. So verify. So you can actually name it with camel casing. So you can save the method name verify links on in insurance page, right? Main page basically. Method do not have any argument in here, so we can choose to put an argument if we want to. And lastly, what do we do after? Okay, so notice like the difference again, guys. We don't have to have, our code is pretty organized, right? Before what's going to happen, after what's going to happen, and then sorry, test is basically in the middle, and then after what's going to happen. So in the after tag, I can say public void. I'm going to say tear down. And again, these names is something that you give. So whatever you want to give is up to you. It doesn't really cause any problems. Import class. And now we have after, before, all of them came from JUnit. Okay, that's what we're using right now for our test. And the next class, we're going to learn another framework, which is going to be much, much, much better. And then we're going to go another framework. It's going to be much, 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 much better. So it's only going to go, you know, it's only going to go complex, guys. And if somebody falls at that point, we're not gonna wait for them. So you will be placed onto the next batch, which is going to start next month. Okay. Sorry, actually this month, 15. So you still have chance to catch up with everybody else here. If not, then you're going into the next batch if you feel that that is something that you need to do. Otherwise, you know, I'll give you the choice, right? We don't force people around, but you get the picture here, right? So just keep in mind the classes are going to be complex as time goes by. Just keep up right now. Yesterday was your day to actually catch everything up. And if you haven't done it, you still have one more week left before we go into something totally opposite, because it's going to be a greater framework that is waiting for you to learn. This is still something that a lot of company uses, but this is not the best of the best. We're going to the best framework, and therefore it will not make sense at all if you don't know these things. So, all right, just giving you guys some heads up here, okay? But again, like I said, anybody falling behind, you will have the opportunity right now to catch up again with another badge. But you can, I'm telling you, if you spend one day, just one day, sit down and say, this is the day I'm going to catch everything up, you can. You can. All right. You can. There are people who did this. You can do it if you have patience. If you don't have patience, then we shouldn't be in the class in the first place. Okay. So let's see. So we got to write our code now. So we have a driver ready to go. Okay. I will also do a tear down, but tear down, I don't want to do it now. Like, for example, driver.quit. I'm going to just go ahead and leave this code as an inactive as of right now. So that way we can see what's happening after running the first line. Okay. So first thing first, driver. Okay. .get. What does get does for us? Okay, guys, let's talk now, right? Unmute yourself if you don't have background noise. You see the get as a method, and it takes a string. Did we not do this last few classes?
Yes, we did it. We did.
We did it.
Okay, so help me out. What do we do here with get?
We quotation and put the whatever
The test URL.
yeah.
Okay, so this is our test URL. This is the URL that we want to hit. Okay, So I'm gonna go ahead and paste it here. I could have also just created it as a string. I could have, right? It has no effect. I could have said string its URL is equal to something, right? I could have said that right here. Because it's outside, it's inside of the class, all of the method will have access to this string, right? Because again, this is outside. The block of code, any block of code can access this guy right here because it's outside. So keep that in mind. So now I'm going into the base URL. The next thing that I need to do is to grab all of the links. But isn't it better to say I'm on the right page first? Shouldn't we check we're on the right page?
Yeah, yeah, let's check.
Okay. So if we should, then we have to have expected and actual. Remember, like we learned about expected result and actual result in manual testing. We're going to do the same thing. So what is your expected title here? So string. Okay, so first verify we are in the right page. So what is your expected result first? I'm going to create a string. I'm going to say expected title. So what is your expected title, guys? Where do we get the expected title? Do we just ask developers? Do we just ask the business people, or do we find it ourselves? Where do we find it?
We find it
we-
ourselves.
Ourselves? Okay, so somebody tell me, how do I find it?
We need to assert the title, or
But what is the easiest thing we can do to find it? We go in over like earlier. Where do you think the title will be at all time? Okay, one more time. Again, the head has the title. That
Yeah.
means some of you guys didn't pay attention, right? This is the title. And today's class is really, really
Mhm.
important. So that's why I'm
Mhm.
testing you guys on what level of
Mhm.
attention is being provided. All right, so this is the title. We got it from the actual website. Okay, now this title, if it's right or wrong, as of right now, we know that this title came from the website. It could be wrong. So now if this title is something that you are looking at it and nobody has any issues and it already went and pushed to the production, that means this title must be right. But either way, we grabbing the title so that way we can kind of say, okay, we're on this page. If this page has this title, then that's it, right? It will tell us that, yes, we are in this page, okay? So we got the expected title. In order to put an assertion, we need also actual title, okay? So string, actual title coming from where now? Who's going to give us actual title at the runtime?
I mean, within the product owner.
Really? How are you going to compare? This is what you haven't expected, but
So this
don't
is
you
the
have to check here to see, you want to compare what you're getting at the time of running your tests?
so should be this is also the actual title.
So then how is it making different? Nothing, right?
No.
So it's same as like you're saying, okay, it's going to be this, that's it. You have to compare. Like the idea here is that you already know expected title, you already recorded right in here. So in the future, if let's say for some reason it takes a little bit longer to load and it goes to another page, not in here, it goes to other pages, then you will check the title and it will probably not match, right? So this URL changes for some reasons, goes to another page, then obviously you'll catch that issue. But your Selenium is going to give you actual title at the runtime. It will grab it for you. It will grab it. Okay. So now you tell the driver, please get me a title, get me the current page title. Okay. So the driver will give you the current page title and it will put it into string. And that's why we have to specify string. So now that you have actual and expected, can you compare them? They should be equal to each other, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to do assert and I'm going to basically say true. assert true. Sorry, assert equal, should be assert equal. So let's see how many assertion we have. So we have this assert dot. I think we have to call the class first, assert. Okay, so we're calling from JUnit, okay? Assert dot assert equals, okay? So expected and actual, right? Message expected and actual. So the first one is expected. So we're expecting this message and it should match with the actual. That's it. Okay, this is the first title. So let's go ahead and run it real quick and see if the test passes, and then we go on to the next to grab all the links and verify the links works. Okay. All right, that's good. It stays there because we're not closing it, so we can just go ahead and see finish code 0, which is good. But you can also put a friendly reminder underneath of this. Just simply code 0 doesn't mean anything. So if 26 didn't fail, right, then you can say, please give me something, right, for me to system.out.print ln, and I can say something like, okay, we are in the right page or something, right? You can always put yourself a message. This message will be only seen by you when you run the test. But on your report, this message is not going to show up, which is good. So that's why you can put as many messages as you need, but don't go crazy. So now that you have this, the next thing you want to do, we know that we're on the right page. We want to grab all of the links. Okay, so if we want to grab all of the links, what do we do? If we want to grab only URL, right? The first thing we have to learn about the web elements. The second thing we have to learn about list. Okay, how many people learned about the array? Anybody know what array is? Okay, so now I'm going to teach you guys some Java, because that is, unfortunately, not everybody here has programming knowledge and concept. So a list is basically something that can have more than one element, right? We can, so this is how the list looks like, right? You can store information like this, okay, within quotation, right? So each of them can be accessed, right? We can access through each, we can iterate through, we can use loop, we can go over one after another, and we can find whatever we need. So it's like you're temporarily storing information into a shelf, and then you can access it at any time to say, okay, I want this and I want that. So you can actually grab any information as you need. You can go through each shelf and find, so think like drawer, right? Each of them is a drawer, and you keep your information, and we call them element, right? So now that you're finding links, let's say, okay, let's first print out all the links, and then we will go from there, right? So if we want to print all the links, the first thing first, we have to create a list, okay? So I'm gonna say list, and that is coming from, okay, and because we're dealing with more than one element, right? Remember, we have driver dot find element, and we have elements. Elements gives us a list return. Okay, just keep that in your mind. List and more than and less than and more than, we have a web element. So that's what we're gonna create first. So because we know that if we use find elements, it will give us list and with web elements more than one, we have to put the data types first. Okay, so that's what I have to write first. So I'm gonna say list, okay, and it will be same thing. It's not like I'm coming up with my own idea here. Web element, okay, so that's what we're saying, and we give them a name, right? All, right? All URLs, for example. So is equal to this, and now we have to import this because we are using the list for the first time in this class. Okay, so Java util, that's what we want. And then find elements. In this case, find elements. okay, with an S. This is the first time you guys are using this, so there shouldn't be any confusion. We're gonna go ahead and say by, right? We're gonna say by tag name. Actually, B should be capital. Okay, so we're gonna say by tag name right there. And we're gonna say simply tag name should be A. Remember, any links will have A, right? Yes or no? Okay.
Yes.
So we're saying give us everything that has A on it. Okay, and that's it. Let's see why new insert. Okay, method call expected. What am I doing? Okay, 1 second, by tag name. Okay. Oh, okay, never mind. It's not gonna be like this. By already there. So tag name. Okay, so this is the actual one. I got it wrong. Method name. Okay, so that's good. So we have a shelf with the multiple drawers, and we can assume that all of the element will have now captured from this page. Okay. So the first thing first, if you want to print out, let's kind of find how many is in there. Okay. So I'm going to print out something and see how many total items in there, right? So system.out.println, and in order for you to find out how many is in there, you take this guy and you say, give me a count. Count already, it kind of read my mind. As soon as I click on it, it says I can use the size. Okay. And now it will tell me in numbers how many elements are inside. This is still web elements. It's still not a link, but we will grab the link in from the web element. So let's go ahead and run it real quick. And this time I'm gonna close the browser. We don't need to have it open all the time. Let's see. All right, so it found 250 links, right? So we can probably do some nice messaging. Found links, right? So it's gonna be like a little bit more messaging, better messaging, I would say. Go ahead and run it again. All right, found links 250. And it says we're on the right page. So this message would never appear if we had a problem right here. Okay, so we're putting in the same order. All right, so now the next thing we will do, if we want to grab the, let's say, URL, we have to go inside of each one of them, right? If we have 250, this is still a web element. We have to go inside of them and we have to say, give us only the URL, because that has everything. Web element has everything right now, but we only need the URL so we can verify, okay? So now we can just say we use a loop, for example, we can use while loop. How many, okay, use while loop. Okay, if this is your first time seeing a loop, you will have to go back and learn some how to do with looping and things like that. Again, guys, as time goes by, we're gonna go to, let's say, W3 school. All right, so we probably got up to here. We did the data types already. We did Boolean everything. We're going through while loop right now. Okay, so if you click on it, you'll see the while loop, how it works. You put a condition. It has to be true in order for this code to work. Okay, and you can also iterate through them too. You can also give them a counter. And we'll talk about those, but we're using some Java. This is data structure from Java, which is a list. Okay, and we are now playing with the list. Okay, so in order, because the list has more than one item, we're gonna iterate through. We're gonna go through each item at a time. Okay, that's what we want to do at this point. All right, now first we'll have to basically use the iterator in order to iterate through them, right? So first I will say there is something called iterator. ITER. Okay, there we go. Iterator. And I'm gonna say we want to iterate web element. Okay. And then I'm gonna give it a name. Now lowercase iterator is equal to all of our links. And I'm gonna say again iterator right there. So that way we can iterate through them. Okay. So now I can come in here and I can say basically use this right here, iterator. Okay, this is one way to solve this problem. I can also solve other ways. So we'll try to explore the other ways as well. Okay. Okay, let's see. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna try to solve the other way first. This is complex, right? This is pretty much the way that we're doing. We iterate through list and we will check basically each one of them as we're going through. There's the easier way to deal with it. We can just simply say we want to go through each element, right? So we can say for, we're going to do while. Okay, let's do while loop. We can use, okay, let's use for loop. That's the first one on the list to learn anyway. So I can say int I is equal to 0. So we're saying a for loop starts with 3 different sections. The first one's entry point. We're starting from 0. We're saying all URL dot size. That means the number. As long as I is less than that, then continue, basically continue running. Okay. And then we want to have a breakpoint. We're saying I plus plus at the end, I plus plus. We're saying that so this is our breakpoint, and we're saying every time it runs iteration, just add 1 to it. So that way we know exactly when to stop, right? So entry, breakpoint, and then we have an iterator that will increment by 1 every time it runs. So it knows exactly when to stop. At this point, we are going to say all URL. So we can say something like, if we want to get the link, if you want to get the, let's say name, right? Okay. If we want to get the link text, for example, is equal to, and I'm going to say it's a string. Link text is equal to, and I'm going to print it, and then we can probably go ahead and do that. So this, and then we can say, I, because it will go through each one of them. I means, what the hell? Let's replace with list access. Yes, we have to. And then get I, and then we're gonna say once we did there, get text, right? We can apply get text method in here, and I'm gonna go ahead and print out system.out.println to show you guys what we just did in terms of link text. So now if I run it, it will probably run, this thing is designed to run 150 times. Why do you think is going to be the case? It's going to run exactly 150 times. Okay. Let's go ahead and run this first and see what's going on. And then we go from there. Okay, look, it's beating right there. Okay. So now you can see all the link. We are able to print out all the link text. Some of them do not have text. That's why you see empty. Okay. Some of them do not have text, but then the ones that they have text has the just basically printed out. So now link text is something that we cannot actually rely on. So what should we be relying on at this point? I think we should rely on the URL that links has. So I'm going to say get attribute, and I'm going to go ahead and say href. Remember, href, I believe href. You guys remember? So let's see, what does it have? If it doesn't have a link, so let's see. This guy does have href. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and print it and see how many of the missing href at least. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and run it at this point, and it will print out the links for each one of the link itself. Okay, so it's gonna go ahead and All right. So notice like the links, almost all of them has the link. Even this guy, it goes nowhere, but it's still a link, which is good. Almost all of them has it. So it's pretty reliable for us to say, okay, we'll go ahead and use this to verify each of them. None of them are broken at this point. You can even do further investigation. You can say that link that starts with this, I want to check. Anything else I don't want to check because it's not your company related. What if you have some other garbage links, right? For example, this guy. This guy we shouldn't check because this guy is probably a plugin being used into your website, and they're responsible for testing their own product, not us. So we don't have to. But like I said, you can make some changes if you need and say, okay, I want to grab only the links that has this. Okay, so you guys want to do that? We can now use a control flow, if and else. Okay. So we're going to say link. Okay, so this is actually a link. So now I'm going to say something like if, right? Link, sorry, link dot, only if link dot, right? Instead of equal, I'm going to say include. I believe there is a contain. Okay. If the link contains this, okay. If it does contain this, then only then give me the link. Otherwise, do not give me. I don't want it, right? Right. This is I just want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. Starting, ending. That's good. So now I can say, I don't want anything but this. Okay. So now I can say like, I do want the link that is, so it's going to be significantly less than like solution and things like that. These are going to go away. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and run it now. So you're basically being efficient. Again, efficiency matters. We don't just want to test links from the other company, other domain. We don't care about those. We only want to test our own company domains. Okay. All right. So you see, so now it's only going to give you links that is narrowed down to your own company related links. That's it. No other garbage links. So now, guys, I'll tell you guys one thing is that, you know how like sometime you go to Indeed and somehow all the jobs from company related, jobs shows up in Indeed. Do you know how that happens? Do you think Indeed is like having like calling every single company out throughout the whole world to grab those links? Do you think they do that? No. What they do is that they have a program that runs day and night to go to like thousands, if not millions of websites and look for career section in that link and look for jobs and then see what are the job description and grabbing those information, putting directly in Indeed. And when you go and apply, because they are not associated with that company, they will say, go and click here and go to company website and apply. All right. And it's because this is called web scraping, meaning you can have a one-page worth of code that will go through millions, if not billions of links, and it will just continue to go on links one after another until it satisfies a condition, right? So this is how web scraping works. If you guys want to get into, there are developers that does that specifically for companies like that, where their only product is going out there and searching through millions and billions of links and finding what they need and putting it into their one website for viewers to, or the users to get the benefit from and hopefully pay them for their work. So Indeed started off doing that web scraping. They have code that actually does that instead of like, imagine like human being like going in, finding those jobs and then doing all that by themselves, right? So that's something to think about, what you can do, like what you can do yourself. But don't try to run it like blindly like that because your computer is going to probably crash because there's a lot of links out there. The reason why my computer didn't crash is because this is just a very specific link. Okay, we're being very specific. We're not saying go in Google and go wild, right? We're not saying like go into any website and do this. We're only targeting one website. Okay. All right, so then we're getting all the links, right? Now we got the right links, we can actually do the testing on them. So you can actually, at this point, you can do two things. You can actually say, I want to visit the URL, okay? Or you already have verified. So now you can basically say this href exists in the website, and you can have a list of links that said, okay, in this page, we must have this links. If it's there, then it passes. So you can actually compare like that. You can visit one page at a time at this point, okay? And then verify it if it opens, right? So I can say driver, if it can open up the website driver dot, right, get something, right? So I get, and I can say, go ahead and go to the link. I can say, go ahead and go to this specific link and open, and then I will say, go ahead and close it if it works, right? So the first thing, if it does open it, you know, we need to make sure that we're on the right page. So this is the thing, when you open a new link, especially like on the same exact page that you're in, you have to have some sort of verification. Okay, so now I can say like expect, oh, sorry, not expect. We basically say something like this, string expected URL, right? Is equal to maybe driver dot get current URL, right? And we can then validate with this URL, okay? So now we can say something like, we already know the link that we grabbed. Now we want to set this after visiting if the links is same or not, right? So now I can say something like, let's see, what should I say actually? So this is your expected, and then we can go to the link. It should be very simple. If it doesn't work, and now I can give you my prediction. Some of them will not work in this because once you visit the link itself, it changes the link, right? So what I can probably do, I can say something like expected URL dot contains, then it will at least basically go ahead and verify, and I'm going to say this is true, because now we're saying this is going to return as true, and then it should be actual also true. So now it's going to be more like less failure. We might still see some failure, but at least it might not fail. I can say right here again, system dot out dot println, and I can say something like found something, right? So so now that we know our expected URL, we can just say, okay, expected URL is equal to link, right? Because this is your expected result, right? Because that's what you got. Okay, and then you can say actual URL after visiting, right? So after visiting URL. So that means once you already visited that URL, what happens? So if it didn't open nothing, then it will actually go ahead and tell you like if it's okay, so I will put that right there. This is actually actual, not expected. Okay, ready? Let's see. I don't expect this to work on the first try. Let's still try two. Okay, so the first one, and then it will continue to visit. But notice like it did visit the first one. Okay, it visited the first one, and then it tried to go the second one, and then third one, it fails, says, still element and this and that, right? because, okay, this is where it fails, still element. Okay, so this is inside of the, so we probably have to go ahead and copy this at the end and put it in here too. And then this needs to be, okay, this needs to be instance variable at this point, but I'll put this link right there. Link is equal to okay. So it became a style element. So let's see. Okay, let's talk about this style element, guys. Am I panicking when I see this? No. All right. I have to fix now. Something happened. I have to fix it. So what does style element means? This means that once you move from one link to another link, your website no longer references the previous element. So remember, we have a list of web elements stored. They're no longer valid because we moved from one link to the other already. We use this method right here, and now it's no longer. So we have to somehow trigger this again and create ourselves these all URL size. So that way we can go ahead and do it. Let's see. Okay, I gotta basically think about this because this is where exactly it failed. Okay, get attribute is no longer working with all. So the way we're getting it is this, right? So we may have to rerun this specific code again to have this run. Okay. Web elements, and then okay, so I'm just trying to fix my code to make sure that it works. Okay, this is good. And then I probably just need this line to run at the end again, right after it finishes, so I can kind of, but it's still going to go ahead and work with the right number because we have the counter. Okay. So let's see. Let's run it right now. It should have a fix now, but never know, right? You're dealing with, okay, it did fix it. Look, it's going to each URL and it is happening in a light speed, guys. So we can slow it down if we want to. It's gonna go one link at a time and verify. You can even verify something on the page. If something has common like footer, you can say, okay, I should expect the header and footer of this because most of the web page do have the header and footer same. So you can say I want to verify header and footer aside from just. All right, it's taking quite some time. Okay. That's crazy, right? Okay. All right, it's done. Our test pass, so therefore assertion did actually, all of the assertion worked perfectly fine. And not only that we get the assertion correctly done, but we also have some text for ourselves to see what we're comparing against. So for example, oh, we need a space in here. Okay, and then we can run it again, but this is not part of the, URL. So just keep that in mind. It is comparing correctly. It's good. Okay. Any question about this? Any question at all? Go ahead and run it again to kind of fix the URL situation. But any question, guys?
No.
So you guys think you guys can do this by next class? This is just a simple script, but I'm gonna
Probably.
expect you guys to also learn the locators. And then, okay, a few things that I'm gonna kind of tell you guys to pay attention to when you are doing this thing. Kind of spend some time to learn how the link list, sorry, not link list, it's the list works, and then the loop. So if you go to W3, you're gonna make sure that you learn for loop, because that's the one that we used just now. I could have used while loop if I want to. I could have used the do loop. It's really like up to me. The tools are provided to you as a developer, but what you want to use is up to you, because you will see what is most efficient for your case, and then you will use. Okay. Not only that, we also use if and else statement. So we got the Java if and else. So this topic right here, this one, and then for loop, and then we have the array. Okay, so these three things you have to make sure that you are pretty solid before you jump in and kind of write this code. Okay, but if you really have the time, do yourself a favor, from here to here, do it again. From here to here, just read and go through. You can try it yourself. You can even like take the code and put it into your IDE, and it will also work. So these things, guys, again, if you feel behind, you don't have to and go through the videos, just do it from here. Okay, and you'll be fine. Any questions? If there is none, we're gonna end it here today. I think this is a lot, even for that to take in for the next class. So I would expect for you guys to automate. Again, it's already there. So even if you copy paste it, you will be getting there. But try to basically understand why you do this. And yeah, I would probably ask you to do another website, not this. But actually, if you think about it, this will work for any website. All you have to do is change the URL, and that's it. Okay, it will work for any website. The only thing is different in the whole script is this URL and this URL right here, and nothing else you're gonna match except for the title. So you have to also change the title too, and it'll work for any website you can think of. All right, with that said, we are done for the day. Like I said, guys, we're starting a new batch on the 15th, I believe 15th or 14th. I did send out a link on our other channel I can share. But this batch is going to be primarily taken care of by me from the very beginning. So I'll be doing manual testing, then automation, then going into Shantabai is going to come in for database. That's where he's more expert in. He's going to also come in with like API testing. So he has some topics that he's really good in that I'm going to ask him to do. But I'm going to try to cover the manual, and I'm going to try to cover the automation. So whoever's going to join will get the very beginning, the right idea, kind of like, okay, yes, we have to do the homework. Otherwise, there is no way you'll survive more than 5 classes in here. I'm only taking referrals.
Can I
Yeah,
take
go ahead.
only the manual testing class with the next batch? Because I'm not really clear with the manual testing. But this
that's
is fine.
fine.
I'll go on this
Yeah.
this class.
Okay, so yeah, anybody interested going into the next batch, meaning like you just want to do the class, but then you don't want to permanently move, then you're welcome to do that. I'll share the link, but we need to know who's going, because otherwise I'm going to be like pointing you out during the class, say, hey, you didn't do the homework. You're not going to be required to do the homework if you're just hovering, if you're just visiting. But if you doing full blown the whole course, then you will be required to do the homework. So I don't want to like kind of like make you look bad asking you too many times for homeworks when you just go in there for like 1 day, 2 days, 3 days.
So
Okay.
I think I will also do the same. I will not leave permanently, but I will just go to the class and see.
Okay, so I'll share the link and you guys can just join. It's not a problem. Yeah, like I said, anybody else here, like if I choose you, like, okay, you have to basically shift over to the next batch. That means you didn't catch up. Okay, you're not up to speed with everybody else. I'm gonna be after the automation. The next thing I'm gonna do is teach you guys Jira. The next thing I'm gonna teach you guys API testing with Postman, and then I'm gonna give you guys 2 weeks of interview prep, your resume preparation, your portfolio creation. After that, we're going to start marketing. we're gonna basically start putting you guys out there for jobs.
Mm.
Yeah, if you guys, yeah, I don't know if you guys are inside of the interview support. So we have an interview support channel on WhatsApp.
Mhm.
Almost every week you'll see at least one person getting a good news. So again, people that stick around, that's fine. Once you go to the market, if you're not really doing anything yourself, you're not reaching out, you're not really following up with the recruiters, because we do monitor emails and stuff. So if I see that you're not messaging, you're not, interested on applying jobs, recruiters reached out to you, you haven't replied to him, you're not texting him back, you're not actually setting up any interviews, I will not babysit you at that time, right? I will not come and say, okay, hey, call him back right now and tell him that I will be happy to set up the interview, right? At that point, it's going to be you setting up the interview, and we're going to come and help you prepping for that interview so you can be successful. It takes 4 to 5 interviews to get an offer, first offer, if you did the things right. That means the first 4 interview could be like really horrible, right? Meaning you did bad and it's okay, right? We know that we're gonna mess up a few interviews in the beginning.
Yeah.
What
But
days of the week the next batch?
what days of the week? I think Saturday we're starting, let's see, October 15th or 14th. Let me see which day Saturday falls in. Yeah, it's 15. It's 15. So it'll be Saturday and Tuesday for that new batch. And then once I finish with you guys, let's say I finished the automation and then we doing marketing, I'll just probably ask you guys to, okay, just go ahead and hover over the next class until we prepare the resumes and start to do the marketing preparation, which is going to be 2 weeks again. So that means 4 classes for the marketing prep. And then your resume goes out there. You will know what to do because we're going to tell you exactly how to market. You can actually help somebody who never have experience on creating resumes to be able to go out there and take interviews. You can probably even help them. And we're not insecure about teaching those skill sets, but you will be able to actually continue even if we somehow, let's say we're busy with other badges, you can still continue because we have more than one person for job support, sorry, interview support. You can always reach out in the channel. People who like working for the 2 years, 3 years, all of a sudden I see that somebody is messaging on the interview support channel asking us, hey, I have an interview tomorrow, can I get some help? And we jump in. So anybody that joins the interview support channel, you're going to see that people previously, and I'm talking about hundreds of people in that group, everybody's listening, everybody's watching the text, but these guys already working somewhere. Okay. There are a few people, maybe our last batch, still looking for jobs, and you'll see they constantly posting message like, I have interview tomorrow, can I get help? I have interview next day, can I get help? And that's when we just go ahead and reply and say, hey, yes, I'll help you at this time or that time. So there is a process for everything. Trust the process. That's the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say is that just recognize that you're the one who needs the job. And also you need to have that motivation coming from somewhere yourself, because otherwise tomorrow I could just come back and say, okay, you didn't do the homework, and I kind of go a little bit more than what I should, and you'll be like, no, never mind. He has no rights to talk about my personal life, and I will just stop. Yes, you will stop, but then you go to another school and you're gonna waste another 6 months, okay? Because nobody's gonna just go ahead and market without training. So, just keep personal things to personal side. Don't take anything personally. Everybody's human. People get frustrated, right? Just constantly remind whatever you need. And one thing that I'll assure you guys, if you guys call or text all the times, we're not bothered, right? We're not going to be bothered and say, okay, no, you cannot call us this time or text us this time. So when you are out there applying for jobs and you have a question and you're not getting it and you text me like 20 times, I'm never going to reply to you saying, okay, what are you doing? Don't call me or text me this many times. I will reply with the answer, but it may be late, right? It may be 1 hour late, 2 hours late, but I'll reply with the answer. So just make sure that, you know, you don't feel any sort of like hesitation when it comes about getting help after going to the market. But this is what's coming. I'm giving you guys a forecast, what's going to happen within the next couple of months. But yes, if you are willing to do 4 classes, sure, join the Saturday also, join the Tuesday also. And now you're pretty much going to be not only following your own course, but also you have a way to revise everything you did in the previous classes. All right, with that said, guys, enjoy your Saturday, and I will talk to you guys on, I believe, yeah, Wednesday. Oh, Sunday, today, Sunday. All right, see you guys.
Thank you.